So guys, visiting a subject that I haven't spoke about in a little while on the channel, and that is BBs. Now it's something in commonality across all of Airsoft that we all use. And speaking to different people, they have very set views on brands and particular types of BBs, weights, even polish is something that some people look into. And I also know people that are not fussed by the type of BBs that they use. Now, looking through the results from today's tests, and we will cover everything on screen and also the new Valken BBs, we see a massive variance in surface texture and also the internal makeup of the BB. As most of you will know, that can unbalance and unweight the BB and cause more flyers and more bad shots. First off, looking at the externals of the mad balls, you can see this really rough texture, although from a distance they look polished. The pitting on the external surface and also this kind of marbling effect of the colour. Although internally really good, as you can see, very consistent texture. There's no dirt, there's no debris, there's no air bubbles, nothing like that on the inside. So one of the best on the inside, although externally not very good. Next up, we have the Hot Shots 3.6. Again, really good externally. Nice level of polish, but definitely not the most polished out of all of the BBs that we've seen today. And as you can see, some slight marbling on the surface. Internally, nowhere near as consistent as the Mad Balls, and you do see some holes in here and some slight debris. Next, the ASGs, really consistent. Lovely white texture on the outside, no deformities, no pitting, no irregularity. Although the awesome outside on the ASGs, as you can see internally, very mixed texture and also these air bubbles in the middle. Now this may be down to the weight at 0.25, but in other 2.5s we don't see this internally, and that could cause inaccuracies. Now we jump over to the BLS 2.8s, as we see a little bit more of a matte texture. There seems to be less polish here, and as you can see, that slightly pitted surface, especially on the BB on the right hand side, you can see some of that integral black debris. So although externally quite uniform, internally very ununiform. We have some areas where there's bubbles in the center and this kind of missing hole or speck, and it doesn't seem to be central, which would definitely cause you to have some flyers in the air. Also, the texture consistency seems very off here. Next, we have the Jeffs 4.3s. Nice and glossy on the outside, but definitely some of that grainy texture that you see from some of the other heavyweight BBs, some of that black on the surface here. Internally, very consistent, much like the Mad Balls, that nice, consistent, smooth texture, although one of them here has a slight hole in the center, probably showing an ununiform QC process, but definitely something that would cause problems in your accuracy. So next we have the BLS 3.2. Now this is a BB that I've been using for the past few months, and personally I've had some problems with it. As you can see here, a very dull surface. There's next to no polish on these, and you can see some quite bad graining. Some of them almost look like they have a divoted golf ball effect, and I found this to cause some problems with feeding. Now it's a shame of that dull, unpolished texture, because internally these BBs are very good, and this has led to some good accuracy, although the feeding problems that have been had by myself and others. No air bubbles or pits, and again, a very good consistent texture internally. It's just a shame about the outside. So the 101 Inc 2.5s are next, a bit of a wild card here because I actually don't remember where I got these from, but they were in a sealed bag on the shelf, so I thought I'd throw them in the mix. A few of the BBs, great polished surface, almost mirror-like, and others this mottled concrete-like effect. Internally, these BBs look great, very consistent, no air bubbles or holes. Another thing about these BBs, they were really difficult to break in half, so even with like a proper set of pliers, these felt much tougher than some of the rest. So guys, I know a lot of people that run these BBs in their TMs. These are the BLS 3.6. Really uniform on the outside, nice bit of polish, not the highest level of polishing that we've seen, but a very good level with very little irregularities or deformities. Internally, probably the best out of the bunch. Very uniform, very neat, very clean. They broke in half really well, as you can see, with no air bubbles, no dirt, no fragmentation, nothing. Internally, absolutely solid. Next up, the Draft Club 2.8s, BBs that I've actually used a lot myself in my 416. As you can see, there's a few surface irregularities and deformities here, a little bit of black debris there, actually embedded in the surface of the BB, which is a real shame. But other than that, good level of polish, very uniform, and there's very consistent texture throughout the outside, although some of the deformities that are shown in this picture. Internally though, super clean, very, very nice. Overall texture. It's a shame that the outside right hand side of this picture is slightly blurred. As you can see in the original photo at the start of the video, there is some debris inside this, which is a real shame. But other than that, very, very good BBs over on the outside and the inside. Now, another wild card here is the Madball 2.5 tracers. Now, I've used these a lot in my MP7. These are kind of my go-to tracer BBs just because I found how uniform and how bright the color is. Good externally, good bit of gloss. You can definitely see that they are tracers in this picture. Internally, you've got lots of these very small bubbles, although they are consistent to the center. And after breaking a lot open, you do see this patch that's very, very uniform of these air bubbles in the center. I've always found good accuracy from these BBs, but this is something that does concern me. So this last batch, to be very honest, is from Valkyrie BBs. These BBs were sent to me recently, so this is not a plug. I just told them I would review their BBs as part of a BB video that I was doing, and I've given all this feedback already back to the business. Now, this first batch that I was given, as you can see in the video, does have some black specks and small pieces of machine fluff or some form of fluff over the BBs. This isn't something that we've seen across all the rest, and in between using all of the BBs, I made sure that the mat that these are on were wiped down, and I saw this consistently throughout the bag of BBs that I had. On the second bag that we opened, that didn't have this, so I just wondered if some kind of contamination had got in the bags in between the bagging process. Moving on from this, as you can see externally, these things look great. There is like this very strange seam line that I've not seen on any of the other BBs on these. Now, it's like a grey line. As I try and grab these BBs and focus in with the telescopic lens, you can see this kind of line on this BB that's kind of midway down, that goes from the left side to the right side. It's kind of like a grey line. I'm trying to show you here with the camera. Now, with my fingers, I can't tell if it's a raised line or not. To me, it doesn't feel like it so, but I just wanted to raise it with the business to say that you can see this kind of prominent grey seam line throughout. Outside of that, the level of polish, the level of quality of these BBs is very, very good. As you can see, as soon as you get super close up to these BBs, you really do see the irregularities. And panning over a lot of these with the telescopic lens, you can see these are very uniform with no surface indentations or dents. I'm trying to show you this kind of line across this BB as it's a little bit hard to see. Internally though, these BBs are great. As you can see, there's some cut in half here, very uniform, very good. So I think what we can say here is the more consistency, the better. And the different types of surfaces that we're going to have and the different internal textures, the more variance that we have with those textures or with the internal layout of the BB, I think the more inaccuracies we're going to have. Now, it's very hard to just say which one of these is going to perform better in your gun, because as we all know, velocity, FPS, rubber type, temperature, all these sorts of things come into effect when you're shooting a BB. What we can just hope for is the most consistent BB possible. And I can't say that I've found one that externally has been absolutely perfect and internally too. I would definitely like to say that the Valkyries are up there, but the Draft Clubs were also very, very good. ASGs were also very, very good. A few external dents internally that were probably one of the cleanest. So it's very hard for me to determine which one of these is best, and I don't want to call this a kind of best of the bunch of BBs, because I think without more strenuous testing, that would be a very hard thing to determine. But what hopefully you've seen is the difference from the external and internals of a lot of popular BBs on the market. I will do some more videos and some more testing throughout the coming months, but if you would like to see some more videos like this that are a little bit more nerdy, then please feel free to leave a comment in the comments box below. Again, if you have any feedback on these or any ideas, please feel free to leave them in the comments box below. We have plenty more Airsoft related content back on the channel, theheresygroup.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.